Welcome back to Woodward Nights with Booner and Broder. Thank you so much for joining us on our very first show, the premiere, the debut, the inaugural show, all of it.
This will be the toughest show out of them all.
Oh yeah, we're just going to continue to get better.
We're just going to keep getting better and better and better, and everyone will be tuned into the show.
Everybody. We're going to take over the night, Boone.
Oh, we will. There's places around the city here that have night shows. I've told this story before. Since I got into doing this stuff, I've wanted to take over the night show. There are specific places around this city who have night shows, and they are terrible. They have people who don't belong on the air. We're here now. Booner, Broder, we're here. We're taking over. Screw all those other places.
Wait, send the strays out, bro.
Woodward Sports.
Send the strays. You know what I got to do real quick? I just noticed that throughout the break, during the break, there's a man named John Scott in the chat who gave us a $19.99 donation. John Scott, I actually happen to know who you are. Thank you, sir. He says, first one in. Congrats on the show, brother. Can't wait to dominate you in fantasy and FIFA again this year. That was a stray. That's two strays I just caught in that.
How bad are you at fantasy?
Dude, after the draft we had 2 nights ago, I'm actually feeling pretty good about our Woodward Sports Network fantasy.
You have a squad. We could do that tomorrow. We should do that actually before the season starts.
I think so.
We should share our teams from the Woodward Sports League.
I think so.
Shout out, John.
John Scott, thank you so much. That's an awesome donation that helps us all out here at the network. We appreciate you.
Yes, sir.
So let's talk about these Lions. We teased it a little bit. Is it crazy to be talking Super Bowl? The team, so they started last season 1-6. They finished down the stretch 8-2. They had that one a game against Carolina. They gave up 300 rushing yards in the first half.
Yep.
That was a downer. But 8-2 for the last 10 games is a huge turnaround. Can they keep that momentum going enough to carry them deep into the playoffs? Can we actually talk Super Bowl, or where do you put the Lions their ceiling this year? Where do you have their ceiling?
So ceiling, that's easy. I kind of when we first came up with this topic, I broke it down like backwards, like NFC North, NFC, and kind of Super Bowl and ceiling. And I think that's how all Lions fans, we all need to look at it, because obviously a ceiling is like, I tried to explain this to Jeff Frady before, and his mind couldn't wrap around it. I love him, and he knows it. He'll probably laugh in the chat. But the ceiling to me is we're contenders. The Detroit Lions are contenders. Everyone knows that. There's some people out in the media who think they want to be the smart ones and be like, oh, the same old Lions. But they just don't even look at the team. They don't look at what Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes did in the offseason. Mm-hmm. The ceiling to me is Super Bowl. And at the end of the day is if you can get to the Super Bowl as a ceiling, which you can, you're the top 4 team in the NFC, right?
Yeah.
If you can get there, you can win it. Because I say it all the time. I tell everybody this in betting and everything all the time. The NFL is a one-possession game. Every single game. There's some games where it'll get out of hand. Every single game is going to be a one-possession game almost in the NFL. So if you can get to a Super Bowl, you have a chance to win it. So if we're going to all say, hey, they have a chance to win the NFC, they have a chance to win a Super Bowl. Let's just be completely honest here.
Hey.
And that's kind of where I kind of broke this down to. A 100%, it's a lock. You have to win the NFC North, in my opinion.
Definitely.
With the hype, finishing 8-2, I don't expect them to go out there and go 8-2 again to start the year. And then, because, I mean, if you do that, then they should they should go like 14-3. Like if you really break it down like that. Mm-hmm. So I don't expect them to do that. I expect them to, 1, you win the NFC North. 2, you compete for the NFC. Go out there and show you can do it. You should be able to beat teams like Dallas and Seattle and teams that competed last year. And lastly, like if you can do that, which we know we can, we have the roster to do, go to Las Vegas and bring home the Lombardi Trophy. Why not?
But you just want more gambling in your life, don't you?
I do. Especially Detroit Lions.
Lions Super Bowl in Vegas, that's like a Booner Christmas.
I don't know what I would do. We have to work here, but I would have to figure something out.
So do you think the reasons what they compete for the Super Bowl, is it because of their roster? Is it because of their coaching staff, their front office? Like what are some of the reasons why you feel? Is it because the North is down so they should win it and get their first game in the playoffs home field? Like what are some of those reasons?
I think everything you named, there's like a culmination of everything. Mm-hmm. Like the NFC is obviously not the. If they're in the AFC, I think we're all having different conversations with the quarterbacks and things like that we have in the AFC. But the NFC, it's kind of wide open. You have 2 teams, the Eagles and 49ers, who can really like knock you off and throw you off your feet. But if you can get by one of them in the NFC Championship, that's it. And I think part of it, to be honest, Broder,
Talk to me.
players.
Yeah.
We talk about this all the time, and I'll mention this later in the show, is you form a core, they formed their core, and when you do that and you have a core that can go win, you go out and get veteran players that can win championships and have experience. And that's literally what they just did. They showed that that's the equation for winning a championship in any sport.
Yes.
Every team does that. Like, they have their core, and then when it's time, let's get the veterans in here and let's go win. And that's like, they show that that's what they want to do.
This is the first time in my life that when these free agents became available, like, the Lions got the dudes. Like they actually came to Detroit and are filling out this roster with studs. So, can they compete for a Super Bowl? Certainly. They can compete. I think it's their ceiling. I agree with you there, but I don't think that the fans, the media, I don't think we should be banking on that. I don't think we should be planning on that. That's a tall task. I mean, we got some competition in the NFC. Obviously, for a Super Bowl, we're messing with the AFC too, but you think about the AFC, the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the Chiefs. We're going to see them on Thursday. Like, they're legit. They're going to be in the mix at the end of the year. Even if they have a down year.
The Chiefs?
Yeah, the Chiefs.
Oh, they always, yeah.
A down year to them is 11 wins. I expect them to have 12 or 13, so they're going to be there. AFC North is nuts, man. They've got the Ravens, the Bengals, Steelers, even the Browns. If Deshaun Watson, if he has a comeback year, like, that's a division. Who knows who comes out of that? I'm a big Steelers fan. We'll get into more details about the different divisions and the different teams, but damn, those are good. And then the others competing outside of the Eagles and the 49ers, man, the Jets and the Seahawks. Those are kind of my underrated. I expect the Jets to be there. Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson, that defense with Sauce and Quinnen Williams. I'm not a big fan of seeing them on Hard Knocks every week, but the Jets are legit. The Jets are legit.
We're talking ceiling, Super Bowl. I do want to see in the chat kind of what people think their ceiling is for the Detroit Lions. I know Jeff will put in there probably one playoff win, as what he's told me, which is crazy.
Jeff Iafredi, host of the Morning Woodward Show.
Shout out.
8 a.m. every morning.
Great man. But kind of your ceiling, looking into that then, do you actually think that they can get to the Super Bowl in?
I do. I definitely do.
Because you've been around the team. You kind of feel that. And that's the thing is, I put it in my notes here, was when you're going to kind of compete for a Super Bowl, you have to, like, those guys in the locker room have to believe they can do it.
Yeah.
And it seems like Dan Campbell's put it in their mind. There was the press conference, I think Friday or Saturday, that you were at, and Dan Campbell said that, like, listen, we haven't even listened to the hype. We're worried about the next game, the next game, the next game. That's like that Super Bowl mentality. And he's like, all we care about and all these guys care about is going to win it all.
100%.
They don't care. And if they're thinking that, I feel like every single person in Detroit should think that.
Yeah, and they've built this coaching staff out. Brad Holmes in the front office and Dan Campbell, the head coach. They've built the staff around Coach Campbell of a plethora of former players in the NFL that have had success. They've had long careers. They've had Super Bowl wins. We've got Antoine Randall, the wide receiver coach. He won in Detroit when he was on the Steelers. Actually, he threw a touchdown pass in that Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken. Mark Brunell, he won a Super Bowl with the Saints as a backup and had a long career. We got guys who have been there before, and it just feels like with these new players, with the maturity of the young players, the types of guys they've gone out and drafted, I don't think this is the first time it's felt this way to me. Like, I don't think the moment is going to be too big for them. I think Dan Campbell and the staff is going to have them ready. I just think the storyline to get there, I mean, we'll get into it later in the show, but, like, they should win the North. Like they should have a home field playoff game to start.
Yeah.
I think the path is there. I'd love to hear from Nick and Jalen on this topic. Nick, I'm going to come to you.
Yeah, I think
Are
the
we crazy?
non-negotiable for me is win that division. That's where you started off. And you talked about the coach and the GM, and it's the confidence that they've given these players. So you win the division, anything can happen from there. I think the tough game is going to be at Philly if you have to travel to Philly in that NFC Championship game to get there. We know how they drafted. They have a stacked bunch. Getting past Jalen Hurts in Philly would be the toughest matchup I wouldn't want to see as a Lions fan.
Those Eagles are tough, man. Jalen, what about you, man?
I'm sold on the first round victory. NFC North is a must. It's a definite, for us and everything.
Yeah.
I do think that the only team that we have to worry about, to me, is the Niners, to be honest. Like, the Eagles, if you think first week we went toe-to-toe with them and everything first week, I'm not worried about that. But I do think that if we do see them in the first round, we can beat them. I think with this team, this coach, the will and determination of this team. But the Niners is the only team that I'm kind of concerned about, but I'm not worried about that. I think we go 13, 4, 12, 5.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like you could say the ceiling and kind of go over that, and like the Niners, the Eagles, those are all to me just beat. Like obviously they might be better on paper, and they might end up being the 1 seed, 2 seed. They're all beatable teams in my opinion. Like if we're talking a different year, the Detroit Lions, and they make the playoffs, and we're like, oh, they should make the playoffs. Maybe it's like, yeah, we know they're not on that level, but I do feel like they're closer to that level.
Yeah. One of the reasons I judge the Lions so highly, and why I also think the Eagles and the 49ers, especially the Eagles, are going to be tough to get by is they're built similarly. They're built in the trenches. The Eagles, they've got a ridiculous offensive and defensive line. I mean, they're going to be top 3, maybe top 5 offensive line, just like the Lions. Defensive line, we talked Jalen Carter. We're going to have to relive that here in a minute. Jalen Carter, Jordan, who's the guy out of
Davis.
Georgia? Yeah,
out of Georgia.
Jordan Davis. They've built it from the inside out. So when you do that, and they keep interchanging these weapons, they get DeAndre Swift from the Lions. They have different playmakers that surround arguably one of the top 3 playmakers at the quarterback position in Jalen Hurts. That's going to be a tough road, man. That's going to be a tough road. Do you think the Eagles or the 49ers are more – would you be more worried about the Eagles or the 49ers?
The 49ers to me personally.
If it's a home game, I think if it's a home game, I think we for the Niners I'm going to be worried. I don't want to play them at home. I don't think we should want to, but playing out there, is it Candlestick still? Did they change the name of it?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think if it's still Candlestick Park or field,
but Philly is a tough place to play.
Yeah, Lincoln's tough. Yeah. Lincoln's tough, but I think Philly's more beatable. We almost beat them last year. First week, I know it's first week, but I mean, we still almost had them. Yeah. The Niners, I'm worried about. I just can't see it happening. But Brock Purdy's questionable, so I'm not really sold on that.